Hi, it's Roger Hamilton here, the creator of Wealth Dynamics and Talent Dynamics, used by some 500,000 people around the world to be able to find the smartest way for them to build trust and to grow their flow. When we go to school, often we do the opposite. I remember when I was at school, I was great at art, but my parents, my teachers, they didn't say, because you're already getting A's at art, why don't you just do more of it? Instead, they say, well, don't worry about that one so much. Focus all your time on the things you're not so strong at. I wasn't so strong at French. I wasn't so strong at biology. I spent all my time on the things that I wasn't so strong at. And so school was hard work. And I actually left feeling a bit of a failure. Well, in business, for many of us, we're doing the same thing. We're doing the things that feel like hard work, when all the most successful people in the world, that's not what they're doing. They're doing the things that keep them in their flow, which is why they're not even doing it for the money. They're doing it because of the life that it gives them. So how do we do this? Well, if you are in the corporate side, if you're in a team, then you might find talent dynamics is the best focus for you because that's designed directly for large companies. But if you're a small business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, and you're looking for the smartest ways for you to get into flow, that's where wealth dynamics comes in, which is what this video is all about. So let's talk about flow for a moment, right? Flow has an equation. The flow of money has an equation, which is that wealth equals value times leverage. You think about a river will always flow from high ground to low ground. When there's a height differential, when the same way money will always flow when there's a value differential, when there's a value exchange. And if I decided to sell my shoes for $1,000 and someone decided to buy it for $1,000, well, that means that they clearly value the shoes more than $1,000. I value the shoes less, which is why I'd rather have the $1,000. They get the shoes, that's the value exchange, and I end up getting the money. If I wanted to make $2,000 and double it, well, I better have shoes which are double the value, or I sell 2 pairs of shoes, right? And that's basically the difference of value, which is what will create the speed of money flow, and leverage, which is like the width of the river, which will increase the volume of money flow at any speed at all. And this is the most important aspect. You have a natural way you create value. You have a natural way that you leverage. And this is what creates the wealth dynamic square, that you'll find that there is opposites. You know, if I fold my arms, then you're going to find that this is one way of folding it, right? I've got my right arm over my left arm. If I was to try and do it the opposite way around, I can't do both at the same time. And this one doesn't feel so natural, right? So you always have a natural way that you go about doing things, and value is one of those things. Creating value is either going to be those at the top of the square, which are those who create it through intuitive thinking, which is when they have their head in the clouds. So you'll find that, for example, one of the first profiles, which is a creator profile, that would be someone like Richard Branson or someone like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. These are people that went out and created billion-dollar businesses, but they did it by creating and being really good at starting things, and then they had teams that would go and complete things. So if you're at a point where you're there with too much to do, with people that can't keep up with you, there's a possibility you might be a creator, and you can do the test to find out, right? On the opposite of someone who's head in the clouds, at the bottom, you have people who have their ear to the ground. You can't do both at the same time. These are people who've got sensory thinking instead of intuitive thinking. These are people who aren't focusing at having head in the clouds, but by having ear to the ground. The way they create value isn't through innovation, which is how those at the top, which are called the dynamo frequencies, do it. They're the ones at the bottom who are actually doing it through timing. So a trader, for example, is the opposite of a creator. There are people like George Soros. There are people out there like Paul Tudor Jones who are very well known as traders. There are women who are very famous traders. So for example, someone like Mother Teresa, who's always looking at the sensory side of things, was a trader, and so is someone like Melinda Gates, Bill Gates' wife, who basically is very pivotal in their foundation and very sensory at where they're actually putting their money. The opposite of someone like a Sarah Blakely, a woman creator that actually created over $1 billion with the creation of her fashion business. So what's so important about understanding the two is that you can't follow both strategies at the same time. You follow the one that's actually naturally right for you. Now, this is the top and the bottom, which is dynamo and tempo frequency, or another way to call it is our genius. And you'll find that there is a free genius test for you to just test out this concept. But then when you're actually ready to take the wealth dynamics test, you find it breaks into these 8 different profiles. Because not only do we have a different frequency in terms of the way we think, which is our thinking dynamic, we also have an action dynamic, which is the way we act. And this is where we get the 2 opposites, left and right, of leverage. So what are the 2 opposites of leverage? Well, you'll find that if you took, for example, those at the top, at dynamo level, next to the creator, you would have somebody called a star. A star profile is someone who is now more extrovert, but extrovert and creative. So someone like an Oprah Winfrey, someone like a Beyonce, someone like a Gordon Ramsay, like who has his own TV show, even though he's a chef. These are people that are really good at creating a brand, and they'll even support other people's products, right? And what's important about this is knowing that when you're a star, you don't have to create anything. You can basically create the space for creation to happen, right? Just like Oprah Winfrey can sell more books by promoting other people's books than she will of her own book. Now, what's important is that a star is someone who is extrovert, which means that they have a particular way they leverage. And the way they leverage is through something called magnify. That's the opposite of someone who's introvert. So right on the top next to the star and the creator, you have someone called the mechanic. This is the person at the end of the cycle who's really good not at starting things, but really good at finishing things. People like Ray Kroc from McDonald's or Sam Walton, who became a billionaire with Walmart. These are people who actually created a system as opposed to a product. And they sell other people's products. Today, there are people like Mark Zuckerberg or people like Jeff Bezos who do it the same way. And what's important about someone who's a mechanic is they don't have to be that good with people. They don't have to be out there, being the shining light of the show the whole time, because they're the ones in the background really perfecting that system, and that's what they're great at. They're introvert. So you have introvert action dynamic, extrovert action dynamic. You now have also got on both sides either those who are going to magnify, which is saying, how can it only happen with me? How can the brand only happen with me so I'm the one showing up for the show? As opposed to how can it only happen without me? Which is basically like, how can I make it sure the system can do all of it? And understanding that for many of us, we're following a strategy which is the opposite of what we naturally do, and that's why it feels like hard work. So similarly, that we have three that are dynamo frequency, but one is more extrovert, one's more introvert. We also have three that are tempo frequency at the bottom, where you'll find also one is more extrovert, called the deal maker, and one is more introvert, called the accumulator. So an accumulator is someone like Warren Buffett or Carlos Slim. These are billionaires that made their money by analyzing and investing in the right thing, and they had a really clear strategy that they followed to do that. There are people like Li Ka-shing, who's one of the most richest men in China that does the same thing in Hong Kong, and you're going to find they're the total opposite of people who are deal makers. Deal makers are people who are more around timing with people. Someone like Donald Trump is a deal maker. Someone like Rupert Murdoch is a deal maker. And these are people that actually make all their money from the deal. There's someone who right now runs Yahoo, Marissa Mayer, that's known for doing lots of deals with Yahoo, and that's because that's what she naturally does, right? As opposed to someone who's an accumulator, like Gina Reinhardt, who is the richest woman and richest person in Australia that makes all of her money through the accumulation and through her mines. So understanding that that is a different way that people make money and that you might have one of those profiles, so to know your profile is so critical, is one of the other aspects. And then you have the two which are there, the final two, which are there, who fully are the ones that magnify and fully the ones that multiply. The leaders, the ones we call supporters, are people who are on the blaze side between the star and the deal maker. And this is someone who is really good at leading people. People like Meg Whitman, who led eBay, or people like Jack Welch, who led General Electric. These are good examples of leaders who never had to start their own business. They're really good at leading other people's business. And then you also have the people that are the opposite of the extroverts, great with people, who are the introverts, great with systems, and you have the lords, just like a landlord. They're making money from the cash flow. So someone like a Rockefeller or John Paul Getty used to make it in the oil industry. Now today you have the likes of Larry Page and Sergey Brin who actually make it in the online industry. And understanding again, they're just doing it through a better process and a better way for cash to flow that's allowing them to make money in a way that someone on the supporter side is doing it through the teams and the connections that they have. 8 profiles in total. And what's so different about this profiling system compared to other personality systems is that this links directly to time. You can actually take these 4 different frequencies, the 4 geniuses, dynamo, blaze, tempo, and steel, and you can relate them to the 4 different seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And the reason that's so important is all businesses go through a cycle, all teams go through a cycle, and so do all industries. So by knowing that your winning formula, what might be working for you today, may not work for you next year because the cycle continues to grow and change. Knowing that what could have been working for you 3 years ago is no longer working and wondering why, and realizing it's because the wave has changed and it's now time to change leadership or even change what you're doing within your business. This allows you to always stay in flow and understand that this synchronizes directly with time. And then the other aspect is the fact that when you link it also to the energies, the frequencies that we find if we go back in time to the Chinese elements, if we go even to the Western elements, and you find that each of these also has a link to wood, which is the energy of those who love to grow, which are the dynamo energies, of fire that has the energy of wanting to glow, which are the extroverts, of the tempo earth energy, which are those who want to slow, which is your tempo energy, and then you've got the steel energy or winter, which are those who need to know. And they're asking a different question, which is what, or who, or when, or how, which is why they're so good at creating, at people, at timing, or at the detail. by understanding this and knowing that there's a fifth element, which is the one that links all of this together, the water element, which is the flow, is the one that actually allows us to get to our entrepreneurial spirit. That's the real power of this entire system. It allows you to have a dialogue and a vocabulary that you can be using together with everyone in your team and with your partners. And when you join our community, you're going to find that there's hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs all around the world that are focusing at following their flow and allowing you to follow yours as well. So once you've taken the test, read the report, choose to take the rest of the pack if you like to, so you can see the other ones as well. Share it with your friends and with your colleagues. Make sure you take the mission on Genius U, so you have that ability to actually check out what your flow factor is and how much your flow is growing. And then also, if you are up for it, come along and be one of our partners. You can join us as one of our flow consultants or performance consultants. You can share this same information, whether it's to schools, whether it's to other businesses, and we'd love you to be part of what is right now the global entrepreneur movement, where we are seeing entrepreneurs taking charge of their own lives to live it on their terms and to be able to make the impact that you know that you're here to make in the world. So enjoy the journey, and if you like, follow the mission, and you will find every one of the different profiles has a specific video that allows you to see exactly how to be in flow, whether you're that profile or whether you happen to be having someone in your team that's of that profile as well. Enjoy the journey, and we'll see you along the way.